Hi and welcome to a new episode and to a new DIY project where we will make our own soda can stove and compare it to the all famous Trangia. It is really super easy to make one and very cheap, almost for free actually, and it doesn't require much skill or tools. But is it worth the effort compared to buying one? And how does it compare to the original Trangia? Let's find out. I have been using a lot of different stoves in the past, everything from gas stoves to alcohol stoves and ESBIT stoves, and often with the focus of going as light as possible. The benefits of an alcohol stove is it is very easy to use and it's very easy to find fuel, and both the fuel and the stoves are cheap. We will, during this episode, step by step build our own soda can stove, and I will also go through my thoughts regarding hole diameters, number of holes, and also in the end compare the boiling times against the Trangia. No time to waste, so let's get going. To make our soda can stove, we need a couple of things. First, we need 2 soda cans or beer cans. We need a knife or a hobby knife, a marker pen, a ruler and a scissor, a stapler, a plier, and some JB Weld. As a wick I use rock wool, but you can also use like fiberglass if you want to. Then later, to drill the holes, we need some drills and we need a drilling machine. Now let's start the fun by making the 3 parts that you need to build this stove, and we're starting with the top. We start by cutting away the bottom part of the soda can using a hobby knife. And I start by drawing a circle where to cut to make it easier to see where I'm at. You could like just punch through and carve that hole, but that will not look as nice because it is really difficult to get a nice and round shape, and also with a higher risk of hurting yourself. Instead, we make a score round on the bottom with the knife, and you have to go round and round a couple of times to make it deep enough. Then you just punch a small hole and then use the backside of the knife to press and remove the bottom part. Now you should have been able to get a nice and round shape just like this. Now when the bottom is removed, we want to make this the correct height, and I start by measure 3 centimeters and make the small mark with the pen. Then I just hold the pen still and rotate the can to make a nice line. Now I just take my knife and carve a V shape by the line to really be able to get in there with the scissors. Now I just work my way around the can with the scissors. In the end, your top part should look something like this. To finish it off and to be able to put it all together later, we need to use the plier to pinch the edges, and you go all the way around. And don't make them too big. Just like this, to make it a bit flower shaped. Okay, now when the top part is done, let's continue with the bottom part, and this one is much easier to make. Take your second can and just measure it like you did before, 3.5 centimeters from the bottom. Make a mark and then rotate the can to make a nice line. Punch a V shape and cut it the same way as you did the top with the scissors. Now we have the top and the bottom part ready. So let's continue with the third part and the inner of the stove. You should have enough material left on the cans, so you start by drawing a circle close to the top part of the can. Then measure 4.5 centimeters from that line and make a small mark. Then just rotate the can again to make another circle. Here you can start by cutting it off like this, making it easier to work with. You will be left with a part looking like this. Now that we have the inner part ready, we need to cut it and make it to the correct diameter. I start by rolling it together and shape it like the diameter of the bottom where the arc ends. I have marked it out with a pen for you to see what I mean. There will be a bit of extra material because the diameter is smaller, so you can cut away some or just leave it. I usually cut it away. And then I use the stapler to secure it. One in the bottom and one at the top. You should have a tube that looks like this and that fit right into the bottom part and the top part. But please do check before you continue to make sure it fits. Otherwise, you will have a difficult time to put it all together later. Looks good. The last thing we do is to cut 5 V shapes on the side that goes on the bottom. This is for the alcohol to be able to enter the cavity between the inner and the outer shape. Now, yeah, all the 3 parts needed to make your stove is done. So let's move forward to the wick and cut some rockwool. The rockwool should be the same height as the bottom part and go all the way around. This is the fun part, where it all comes together. And we start by mixing the JB Weld, and we just follow the instruction and use a 50-50 blend. Mix, mix, mix. Well, and the reason for using JB Weld is for the high temperature resistance. Not many other brands out there are good enough for making stoves. The JB Weld is now mixed and ready to apply to the bottom part. And no need to be in a hurry. It takes some time for the weld to harden. Now let's put it all together. Wrap the wick around the bottom of the inner, put the inner inside the top, and slowly place it all into the bottom part and press gently. Be a bit gentle and don't push too hard, and see to it that the parts go well together. If you look inside, you can see when the inner touches the bottom part, and then everything is in place. Ta-da! You can drill the holes directly after assembly, but you can't use the stove until 15 hours later because of the JB Weld. Now, there are a lot to be said when it comes to holes, both the size of the holes and how many you use, and you will get a lot of suggestions depending on who you ask. But after trying out a lot of different combinations, everything from 0.8mm holes up to 1.5, which by the way is the largest holes and the smallest holes I do recommend for this design. And the results, well, they are very much alike and not much of a difference really. With bigger holes and like 1 to 3 to 1.5mm, you get a less wind sensitive flame, but a less efficient flame, but with a longer burning time. If you instead use only small holes and holes like 0.8 to 1mm, you get a more wind sensitive flame that sometimes can struggle to prime, but efficient and strong jets that when burning will result in a higher fuel consumption and a shorter burning time. No matter what you choose, you will in the end up with a boiling time about 445 to 555 minutes, and it all comes down to the fuel efficiency and the choice of pot stand, and of course the weather if you're outside. So you can either use small holes or big holes, or combine it with big and small holes. And for example, the Trangia has 24 1.3mm holes. So for my stove, I will drill 24 holes of mixed diameter of 0.8, 1 and 1.3mm to get a quick priming, and I will try to combine the quick priming with a high fuel efficiency and a longer burning time. I start by drawing a circle where to drill the holes. Then I mark out for the spots on opposite sides, and it doesn't have to be perfect. If you want a perfect distribution between the holes, I suggest you using a template. Okay, let's continue. Now we mark out the 4 new spots in between the other ones. You should now have about 8 dots. Now to make all the 24 dots where to drill, just add 2 more in between the dots that you already have. And to make it easier for you to see, I switched to black. Now let's drill some holes. Okie dokie then, the stove is ready. Nice, right? Looks good. But because the JB Weld takes like 15 hours to harden, I needed to make one in advance, this one. So let's go and try the stove out and then also compare it to the original Trangia. As this type of stoves require a pot stand, I will for the tests use the EVERNEW Titanium Pot Stand, which by the way fits perfect. For this test I add 15 grams of fuel, same as I always do to get a fair comparison. And I will also use 400 milliliters of cold tap water in my 500 milliliter EVERNEW Titanium pot. So for you living in the US, it is about 0.5 ounces of fuel and about 2 cups of water. The priming took, well, about 30 seconds. A nice and compact blue flame. And now I think we have a boil. Yep. And it took about 5:35 including priming. The total burning time after removing the pot after a boil ends up being around 7 minutes and 25 seconds. The way that I define the total burning time is when the jets go out. I would say that's pretty good for a DIY budget alcohol stove. A Trangia under the same conditions primes after 25 seconds. The boiling time is about 7 minutes and 40 seconds, and with a total burning time of about 10 minutes. 2 minutes slower to get a boil compared to a can stove. After all the tests I've made and the one we just did, I would say there's really no reason to go out there and buy a Trangia or any other alcohol stove out there. The soda can stove is lighter, only 12 grams compared to 67 grams for the Trangia, and will boil the water quicker. On top of that, also cheaper, almost for free, if you have the tools needed to make one. Now, there are a lot of different can stoves out there, but the reason I chose the stove that I did, the soda can stove, is because it's a proven design by Trangia, EVERNEW and ESBIT and more, and a design that just works. But maybe in future episodes I will try a little bit more different designs and also dig a little bit deeper regarding pot stands. But for now, good luck and have fun making your own soda can stove. And if you have any question to me regarding how to make one, don't hesitate and leave a comment and I will come back to you as soon as I can. Also, don't forget to subscribe to support this channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos, and thumbs up if you liked this video. And I hope that you did. And I also hope to see you again next week. Bye bye!